So I'm going to tell you about how Billy and I met.
Well, it all started with a little app called Tinder.
5 years ago. It was very unconventional. We met on Tinder, so we each had friends of ours that encouraged us to go onto Tinder. It's a dating app.
The horror stories you hear now on Tinder, they didn't exist back then when we were using it.
It was actually a lot of fun. You got to see a bunch of people in your area. And
I didn't have to go to a bar to meet a girl. I could meet them at a coffee shop after talking to them for a while, so it was pretty ideal for me.
I came across Billy's picture.
As I'm swiping one day, I see Shannon on there.
I thought he was really handsome, and we ended up matching. And so when you match, you get a chance to message each other. So we started chatting and messaging each other through the app. So then eventually he asked me out.
We planned to meet up at 8 p.m. on Thursday night. So I decided to take off Thursday, knowing that getting down to Redondo Beach would be quite difficult with the traffic.
I was looking forward to it.
Thursday comes around, I get a haircut, I buy a new shirt, I take off work, I'm ready to meet Shannon.
And then, of course, priorities got in the way. I had some other priorities. One of my girlfriends, we were going to Vegas, so I had to get my tan, I had to get my nails done, and with my work schedule, everything had gone back to back to back, so I didn't have time, so I ended up having to call him.
Just a few hours before we were supposed to meet up, I get a text from Shannon
to cancel with him.
And Shannon says that she is unable to make it tonight. She has to cancel because she has to get her nails done and she has to get her tanning session done because this weekend she is going to Vegas for a bachelorette party.
And at the time I didn't think anything of it. He's gonna have a little bit of a different story to tell.
I wasn't necessarily completely crushed because through this Tinder world, you have to expect a few reschedules here and there.
So he messaged me once we got back, and in my head, I didn't really think anything of it. I honestly thought he was short. There were some pictures he had on his profile page that showed him a little bit, there was a girl the same height as him, and then there was even I think a picture of a grandma that maybe he was bending down, obviously, because we all know he's tall now. But it just, in my head, I just thought he was short, and so I just didn't even really think twice, even though I thought he was really handsome and really good looking.
Monday comes around, and I ask her how the weekend went. She responds by saying it was great. I then said, I would still love to get that cup of coffee. Are you still up for it? I didn't hear anything for about a day.
I think some time had passed, and I had other things going on, and just, I feel terrible saying this, but I was just living my life and going on, doing my own thing.
And then the next day I get a text, and she said, hey, sorry, I have other things going on right now. So I immediately took that as, hey, Billy, I'm with someone else, and it is what it is. This is Tinder, this is online dating. I knew that I was in line to get to her. I just didn't know how long the line would have been, but I knew that this was someone special and I was gonna wait in line. Now, keep in mind, this was August. So hearing someone say that they have other things going on, you immediately assume that they have a boyfriend. So I slowly removed myself from the situation and I went back to Tinder. It was fun. Dating to me was fun. I enjoyed every minute of it. Going on these dates with these girls, none of them clicked. As I was scrolling through Tinder, again, late at night, I noticed that Shannon was still active on Tinder. So September comes around and I send her a text, just a simple text saying, how are you? Or something along those lines. And I did not hear anything back. Now we're in October, I've been on a few more dates. I look back on Tinder, I see she's still active on Tinder. I think it was Friday the 13th, I sent her a text again saying, hey, happy Friday the 13th, just trying to get some kind of reaction from her. Because I knew that if she were just to meet me, that would seal the deal. Either she meets me and likes me or meets me and doesn't like me. Either way, I wanted her to meet me to come up with the ultimate answer of yes or no right there. rather than not meeting me and just getting by. So I was desperate for that first meeting. I wait for the response on Friday the 13th and I get nothing. I send her another text, this time on Halloween, saying happy Halloween. Crickets. There was something inside me that knew that I had to meet her and she had to meet me. Thanksgiving comes around. I send her a text, I believe it was after Thanksgiving. I say, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you had a wonderful time. I finally get a response.
And then in November, I was home and I remember a message from him like around Thanksgiving time. And I just started chatting like, okay, this guy's really nice. I remember he likes sports and.
She sends me a text saying, hi, I had a great Thanksgiving. She didn't even ask how mine went. But when I got that response, I just immediately sent her like a paragraph long text of, oh my gosh, mine was great. I had this for dinner, I had this, my friends were here, I saw my family, this and that. And I went into a long text and she responded back with something very small saying like, cool. And I was like, yeah, very cool. I went to another long text again. I did not want this conversation to end. I wanted this to be something that would lead to a meeting.
We seemed to have a lot in common. He seemed to know how to carry conversation over text message. I think at one point he even called me on the phone. So I said, okay, so we started messaging and then he asked me out again. I said, okay, I think we went back and forth because my parents were gonna be in town and whatnot. So he was gonna be out of town for a lot of December.
I asked her when she was available and she said that her family was in town and that maybe we can meet up after the weekend. So at this point, I was like, hey, listen, I have nothing else to lose. And I started playing a little hardball. And I said something along the lines of, I'm gonna go away for a month to go see my family. If we can't meet up before then I'll just have to meet up with you later. We'll have to meet up after the holidays.
So it was my idea. I said, why don't we meet up on Monday before, after my parents leave and then before he goes away to visit his family in St. Louis for a month.
She then sent me a text saying, how about Monday?
So we went and we decided we were gonna meet up after I got off work. So I got off work and I headed down to Manhattan Beach and I got there first, or so I thought.
So I was back at square one. I got a haircut. I kept that shirt, the purple shirt. It was a purple button up. I was ready for this day. I took off work again on Monday. I wanted to get down there on time and I did. This time I didn't hear any texts back saying that she couldn't make it or that she had to reschedule. It seemed like Monday the 9th was the date we met. I get down to Redondo Beach about an hour early. I park my car, I sit in the car and I wait for a text to say that she couldn't make it. I was literally 1 hour away from meeting her, expecting to get a reschedule.
I was waiting outside of Starbucks. I wasn't sure, do I go in and order? Do I wait? I was standing outside of Starbucks, just kind of anticipating, not knowing, thinking the short guy was gonna walk up the hill.
It sounds funny now, but I was saying this in the car, that this could be the last first date that you go on. My phone vibrates. I look down and it's Shannon saying that she's here. And the butterflies have never been this bad on any date. But I was ready for them. I was ready for these butterflies. I was ready for this moment. Nothing was going to stop me from meeting this girl. I walked up the hill and I saw Shannon standing there waiting for me.
My first thought was like, holy crap, he's really hot. Thank goodness.
She looked exactly like she did in the pictures, just as beautiful as ever.
We sat down for a little bit and had a great conversation. I think there were a couple things I appreciated that he was a writer, that he told me about his flag football league, which we all know it's a tough league now.
We got out of Starbucks and we walked down the pier and just had a conversation that now that I know her, she's so easygoing and I'm so easygoing, and it was just such a great conversation we had. So much so that we actually went back into Starbucks, got a second round of coffee and walked the pier again. I did not want this night to end. If I could stay outside on December 9th with Shannon Johnson for as long as I could, that was a win for me.
At the end of our first date, I remember he walked me to my car, opened my car door, and I thought that was really special and gentlemanlike. We said goodnight, and he said that he'd like to see me again.
And I never tell girls that on the first date. If I don't want to meet them, I simply just tell them that I had a good time tonight and I hope they drive home safe. But with Shannon, I had to let her know right away that I wanted to see her for a second time. There's rules for this, and you're supposed to wait 3 days to text her or call her back or whatever you're supposed to do. I threw all those out the window. I knew I needed to see her. This was real. I asked her how spontaneous she was. And she responded by saying, it depends, tonight's a school night. And what she means by that was that it was a work night. She had to work the next day early in the morning. And I told her, what if I can get you back in bed before midnight? Would you agree to go out with me tonight?
Then come pick me up. Not knowing what we were doing, he came and drove down, he picked me up. I got into his car.
I picked her up, and my plan was to go to the Venice canals during Christmas. It's beautiful, it's lit up. You can Google what this looks like online, it's gorgeous.
But we show up and it is completely dark.
But it's only open from like 7 to 9 p.m. This was 11:30 at night and the Venice canals were completely dark.
Knowing how laid back I was, we actually had a great conversation. We ended up driving around for a bit and then he took me home as promised and I was back at home by midnight.
But before she got inside, I knew, and I never do this, I knew I wanted to kiss her on the second date. So I leaned in and I asked her, I said, can I kiss you? And she said, yes. And that was my first kiss.
Then he left. I think the next day he left, he was gone for a month. We were Snapchatting back and forth about what we were doing and our Christmas time. And I remember during Christmas, I'm gonna cry, don't cry.
I knew I had to give her something special for Christmas, even though I didn't know her very well. I knew she was special. So I put together a little poem.
And I got to play it, and I ended up showing my mom and my grandma, and I just remember my grandma started crying during the video.
It still wasn't over for me because we weren't official yet.
I didn't know if I was ready for a relationship this strong, or I just didn't know if I was ready for a relationship at all. It was kind of moving a little bit fast.
And I would try to see her as much as I could. I would send her flowers. I would do whatever I could to just keep myself in her life, knowing that as beautiful as she was, there's some guy that is right behind me, just one move away from snatching her from me. And I knew this, so I had to keep my A game up. I asked her if we could see each other one night, and she said in a really long text that she's not sure she can give her full to me right now, and she's not sure that she's ready for a commitment like this right now. And at this point, I had to let her know how I felt. And I told her the exact same thing. I said, listen, I'm not sure where this is going either. I just know that I really like you and I want to give this a chance. After that, she realized that we were on the same page.
After Billy was able to kind of talk to me and we met up and he said, you know what, let's just take this one day at a time. There's no pressure to this. Let's just see where things go. There was a bacon festival in Los Angeles. And so he surprised me with tickets to that. We had a great time. And then we went and saw the Lego movie that night. And that night was February 8th, 2014. He asked me to be his girlfriend. And so it was really special.
February 8th marks the day that I asked her to be my girlfriend. 1 year later, February 8th, I told her that I loved her. 3 years later, February 8th, I proposed to her and asked her to be my wife. And Shannon and I are excited to share the next chapter in our lives moving forward as a married couple.
From then on, it was history. I mean, we've traveled so much together. We've been to San Diego, Denver, Portland, now New York, and Northern California. We've been to Mammoth, Lake Tahoe, Reno, Las Vegas, Phoenix. Where haven't we been? Houston, Atlanta. We did a road trip. I love traveling with this man, and I'm really excited that this last 5.5 years has come to this day. I love you.